moment. Okay. Calling to order tonight's meeting of the Wethersfield Planning and Zoning Commission. Clerk Komicki, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Hammer.
Here.
Vice Chair Lambruni.
Here.
I'm here. Commissioner Brecklin.
Here.
Commissioner Dean is
Here.
Your Tom isn't? Okay. Commissioner Drake.
Here.
Commissioner Edwards.
Here.
Commissioner Gianfrido.
Here.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Ercolini.
Here.
Commissioner Laurie.
Here.
And Commissioner Thompson.
So it's only alternate Thompson who's not here. Okay. All right. First on our agenda, and we'll have to, maybe we'll go one by one to figure out which, well, actually, we won't be seating an alternate because we have all 9 regular members, correct? Okay. So first order of business is the minutes of June 17th. Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 17, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tom Dean. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Okay, Chris Brecklin abstains. All right, now we're going to go to item 4.1, public hearing, 2213-25, 341 Jordan Development, seeking a zone change in accordance with Wethersfield Zoning Regulations from a B residential zone to a special residential development district at 341 Jordan Lane. And before we start that, I should, for those of you in the audience, just remind everyone of our procedures. We have 3 public hearing items tonight, this one and 2 more. We will start off by having the applicant come up to the podium, state their name and address. They'll tell us what it is they're asking for. We'll ask questions, and then we will, at a later point, ask members of the public if you have questions or comments, and then we'll go back to the applicant. We'll potentially close the hearings and potentially vote. And just keep in mind that once the hearing is closed, we cannot take any more information on that particular application. With that said, I'll go back to item 4.1, 341 Jordan Development. And just for the commission members, this was in our packet. There was a cover letter from the applicant, but briefly, you may be asking why we're seeing this again tonight, because we saw it in June. And the reason is the applicant has reapplied in order to basically eliminate a potential procedural issue having to do with the approval. And I believe they have asked that we incorporate into the record all of the documents and materials and so forth, and that were done last time, but I will let them come up, Attorney Seaman, and let you say what you'd like to and introduce the application.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the commission. For the record, Evan Seaman, a lawyer at Robinson & Cole, on behalf of the applicant, 341 Jordan Development LLC. And Mr. Chair, you're exactly right that we are reapplying and incorporating the record from that earlier application to address a possible procedural omission. We appeared before you last month with this application seeking a rezone and to establish a master plan at 341 Jordan Lane, and the commission approved that application. The development for the site is the same as before, same number of buildings, same number of units, same number of parking spaces, and we respectfully request that you approve this application and set an effective date at August 15th. Okay. Thank you.
Any questions by commission members?
I'm not getting, what's the procedural change? I didn't understand anything we talked about.
Yeah, it has to do with just making sure that in this context of a zoning change application that we clearly establish an effective date as part of our vote.
It was a date then?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, thank you.
It was a date.
Any questions? Yes.
Yes,
Tom.
Mr. Chairman. First off, as I was the maker of the motion that was adopted regarding this issue at the last meeting, I apologize to the commission, to the applicant for the omission that was omitted from the motion. Fortunately, I wasn't aware At that time, I had not reviewed the applicable state statutes. With regards to correcting that omission at this meeting, I have a couple of technical questions relating to that. First off, it appears as though assuming the commission adopts a motion resolving its approval of the application, the omission was in the failure to establish a date for the effect when that decision comes into effect. And my question is, given the history, what is the appropriate date that we should affix in any motion to reapprove that application?
Could I jump in for a second, Attorney Seaman? So, Tom, the effective date has to be far enough out so that we can accomplish certain additional procedural requirements, one of which is the publication of the notice of decision in the newspaper. And long story short, there are very strict interpretations of doing that in a timely fashion. And I think the giving of the August 15th effective date is designed to ensure that there's ample time for town staff and the applicant to do all of those procedural type of things. And the difficulty is if you make it too quick, then you're not going to hit newspaper publication dates, and we publish in a weekly newspaper, et cetera, et cetera. So really, it can be anything we want it to be, provided that the notice is published prior to that date. So I think this one has been selected by our planner, in part to ensure that there's adequate time, and even adequate time to take further corrective action. For example, if the notice has to be republished in the newspaper, or the newspaper fails to publish it on the day that they're supposed to. So, but I'll ask the applicant if you have anything you'd like to add to that, please do.
No, that's exactly right, Mr. Chair. And in addition to publication, there's the additional step of having to file a Mylar with the chair's signature on that document, along with the decision letter. So we just want to make sure that we have enough time to do that and get everything done.
So is the August 15th date something you feel you have enough time, or is that something we chose thinking that you have enough time?
Yeah, that should be enough. That should be enough time.
Because this is a chance to set whatever time you think you need, not what we think you need.
Yeah, August 15th should be more than enough time. I understand that legal notice should be published on or about July 24th. The possible appeal period should have expired by then. And we should also have enough time to file the Mylar with the town and the chair's signature on that document.
Unfortunately, I didn't see the August 15th date in the materials that I received.
Yeah, actually, the planner was going to suggest, it wasn't in the materials, I don't think. I think it's being suggested this evening.
Yeah, I wanted to make that, to have that conversation to make sure it would work. I did speak with the applicant's attorney today, and August 15th does allow us to get it in the newspaper, as well as in case something happens or someone's out. It gives us a little bit of a buffer as well. So August 15th seems a date that we can accomplish, and that it works for the applicant as well. And the omission, just so we're clear, I think, Commissioner Dean, you know this, is we didn't specify the date. So it's not that our original date in the motion was wrong. We didn't specify a date. And as we're going to see later on the agenda, I've learned too that there is a different statute of limitations for certain types of approvals, specifically for zone changes and zoning regulation text changes, where we should be establishing an effective date.
That's my understanding as well, currently.
Otherwise, I think most of us operate under the standard, which is it's effective if there's no appeal on the 16th day after the date of publication, which is generally true, but I learned something through this that that may not be the case. There's an additional risk to the applicant and really anyone involved if we don't specify the effective date for those types of applications.
Also, another question. If I assume that this commission is going to adopt a motion reapproving the application that was approved at the June meeting, should we in tonight's motion, if such a motion is made and approved, should we specifically cite and reference the approval of the application, that is the approved June 17th motion?
I have a draft motion that I could consider whenever it's appropriate. I could read it out loud, but it does recognize the information submitted with the prior application is part of this application and it's made part of the record. And it's explicitly said in the motion.
Yeah, it doesn't, Tom, I think you might have also been asking, does it reference that we previously approved the same thing on a different date? It does not. However, the applicant's cover letter makes that clear, which is part of the record as well as the discussion tonight. So I think the draft motion we're going to talk about is last time's plus the effective date, and I think there might be another little additional piece of language, but Dave will go through it with us. But I think it's clear for the record that, as the applicant has indicated, the density, the size of the building, the number of units, none of that stuff has changed. It's just a redo of what we saw previously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the clarification. Also, the town planner for his. And I'm just concerned, since this has occurred, that we make sure that what we do adopt is going to be effective and, again, complies with all of the procedural and due process requirements that this commission is obligated to make to have an effective determination.
Absolutely, yes. If there's no other questions, then I'm going to ask if there's anyone in the public who would like to speak on this application. Anyone in the public who'd like to speak on this application or has a question? Final call. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak or ask a question on this application? So, did you raise your hand, sir, in the back, or were you? Oh, okay. All right. So, seeing no one in the audience, does the applicant have anything further before we?
Just like to thank the commission again for its time and respectfully request that you approve this application and set an effective date of August 15th.
Before you go away, I think Mr. Elder has one other thing to add.
Yeah, I do want to, just for transparency, there, in the time between the approval, the town engineer had comments on the most recent submitted site plan that the commission didn't have time to review. Either did I, but there's one change on the site plan, on the master plan, I should say, and it's a change that doesn't impact the master plan, the housing, the dwelling units, any other part of the application, except that the engineer had requested that because the construction of the buildings is going to happen in phases, that the construction of the parking happen in commensurate phases so that we don't have a large amount of asphalt and impervious surface when we don't need it. And so the applicant's engineer has added a note, and so the site plan is revised to reflect that, but that is the only change, and it is a change that was generated by, at the request of the town engineer. Everything else remains the same.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion, let's motion to close the hearing by Commissioner, going blank here, Jim Hughes, yes. Sorry. That's because you're not right in this seat here. And seconded by Commissioner Lambruni. All in favor of closing the hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so hearing is now closed, and I think
Mr. Chair, do we have to read it into the record?
Yeah, you know what, I'm gonna make the motion, I think, if that's okay with everybody, and just work off what staff has developed here. I move to approve application 2213-25Z, 341 Jordan Development LLC, seeking a zone change in accordance with section 10.1.g of the Wethersfield Zoning Regulations from B residential zone to Special Residential Development District, parentheses SRD, close parentheses, at 341 Jordan Lane, subject to the following. approve the zone change based on the master plan revised through July 11th, 2025, and full application materials as presented. The development of an inclusion within the master plan of a portion of affordable housing development within each phase that will be negotiated or worked out between the developer and town staff, waiver of a 15-foot landscape barrier outward from the buildings, and accepting that the sidewalk will be included in that 15 feet. The requirement of a 15% overall landscape requirement be waived, and that at the site plan application phase, the applicant shall present the affordability plan and management plan, period. The commission finds that this application is consistent with the municipal plan of conservation and development in that it results in the redevelopment of a vacant and underutilized site and creates additional housing opportunities, period. Effective date, August 15th, 2025. Did I get everything? Okay, so that's the motion.
Do we have to include this recent change in all this?
I think he did, because he said that the plan was revised through July 11th, which is the date.
Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so it's included in that statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so is there a second to the motion?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
By Commissioner Dean. Any further comment or discussion? And if not, we can vote on the motion to approve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
Abstention, sorry. All right, forgot about that. So we could, I guess we could see one of the alternates. Anna, would you participate on this one? So if you'd like, are you a yes or a no on the vote? Aye. Okay, so it's unanimous 9-0 with alternate Lori participating. Thank you. All right, next, public hearing 2215-25, Maria Brodeur seeking special permit modification for modification to existing special permit for mixed-use development for change of use from takeout restaurant to retail at 136 Main Street. Hello.
Hi, good evening.
If you could please state your name and address for the record.
Sure, Maria Brodeur, 15 Hubbard Place,
In
Wethersfield.
Wethersfield, okay. And if you could please give us an overview of your application and what you're looking to do.
Okay, we're seeking approval for a change of use of the space at 136 Main Street. It used to be the Smoked on Main, and then prior to that, it was Grange Fresh. So it was a takeout service place, and we're looking to make it into a gift shop, a retail space.
And is approximately how many square feet is the?
It's approximately 500 square feet, so it falls below the 1,000 square feet needed for at least 5 parking spaces.
And could you just quickly repeat what the days and hours of operation would be?
The hours of operation would be Wednesday to Sunday. Currently, most of the businesses are open during that time, and hours would be roughly between 11 to 7, 11 probably to 5 or 6 on a Sunday, just because most of the street is closed at that time.
What types of products would you sell?
So products would be gifts, home goods, some souvenirs for the area, and also some natural items. We're looking at more whimsical, so it's more of a gift shop.
And I thought you indicated the number of employees, but I'm not seeing it right now in what I'm looking at. Did you?
Okay, so it would be 3, including myself.
Okay. And I think you also indicate that you're expecting that some of the customers who come to you are going to be people who are walking in the old Wethersfield area.
Absolutely. We wanted to really capture that because we've been living here for 18 years. We walk Main Street often. It's something to consider, that not only to attract tourists, but something to provide for just the local population.
Yeah, do you also expect that customers will, whether they're from Wethersfield or not, do you expect that some part of them will, be going to other stores or other places?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're hoping that it just adds variety to the street and that it's
Okay.
just something that adds to Main Street.
Okay, and could you just, do you know how many parking spaces there are in the back of that building?
Currently, I believe there's 6. There's 1 handicap spot and 5 non-handicap spots.
Okay. Anyone else did you have anything else you'd like to say before we let the commission ask you more
No,
questions?
just thank you for taking this time to listen.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Dave?
You said in your letter that you're not, minimal changes to the inside, but, so you're not taking the kitchen out? That seems to be a lot.
No, so what it is, it's you come in and then there's the floor space, there's a counter space, but the kitchen's on the back, and that is, that kitchen's being used with Ascot Catering, so with the current owners of the space. So that's not something that affects that area that we're using.
There's still refrigerators as you walk in, though.
There is, on the side, there is.
So what will,
So that we can use, and we're putting flowers, like local flowers in there.
okay.
Any other questions, commission members? Dave?
Just to address the parking, so I did look in the file, and there is a good history on this. So it was converted, I think it was in 2003. There was the first application for a special permit to allow a mixed-use residential and business. That's when the proposal was for an apartment upstairs and a commercial kitchen just for catering. No on-site service. I believe it was in 2023. In 2017, they came back to modify the first floor, still as a special permit mixed use, to allow the commercial kitchen, so everything remains residential upstairs, commercial kitchen on the first floor, but to offer a small area for takeout service. This application is only to repurpose and reuse that takeout service. So now the proposal is, rather than that area be used as takeout, that it will be used for the retail area. I just wanted to make sure that was clear, just in case anyone had questions about the history of it or how it came to be.
So you started by saying you were going to address the parking. So what you just described does not affect the parking?
Well, so what I found, the only part in the history for the parking was that in 2017, the approval recognized that they had off-street parking to accommodate the takeout service, and that they did recognize the on-street parking was available. Recognizing, now this is 20 years later, essentially, we try not to do that because there's a limited number of on-street parking. I would suggest that the proposed use is actually going to generate less individual vehicle trips because it is geared more towards people already there walking for retail rather than what was a takeout, which people would generally go to specifically for a trip. So in my opinion, that this proposed use would be less intensive in terms of generating trips than the prior use.
Okay. Any other questions? Tom?
In reviewing the materials, my understanding is that the only change physically to the premises is, at least to the exterior of the premises, has to do with the sign. And the terminology, I think, is maybe a bit confusing, so I just want to make sure we're absolutely clear on that. That the existing sign, it says that there are no changes other than the detachable hanging sign located near the main sidewalk. That's in the memo dated June 24th from the applicant. And then in the review memorandum from the town planner, he indicated that the Historic District Commission issued a certificate of appropriateness at their July 8, 2025 meeting for the replacement of an existing double-faced freestanding sign. However, my understanding is that the physical sign itself won't be replaced. You're simply going to modify its appearance to delete its current approval and put in the name and identification of the business that you propose, and that's going, will then change the face of the sign, but the physical
The physical
look of
location
the sign remains the same.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? If not, I'm going to ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this application. Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this? Last call, anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this application? Seeing none, do you, as the applicant, have anything further that you'd like to say?
No, it's just, thankful again for this time, and just let you know, I wanted to address there is no physical structural changes that are going to happen to this. It's all cosmetic.
And all interior,
All
basically?
interior,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Motion to close?
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Jim. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing is closed, and now would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve application for public hearing, 2215-25Z, Maria Brodeur, seeking a special permit modification in accordance with section 5.2, 510, and 10.1 of the Wethersfield Zoning Regulations for modification of existing permit for mixed-use development for change, use, and takeout restaurant to retail at 136 Main Street. Is there something else
No,
you want to
I
include?
think you,
That was good.
I think it's pretty clear, right?
You were done. I had just drafted it in case,
Yeah, I
but you
mean,
got it.
this,
all right. Is there a second by Jim, motion by Peter, second by Jim? Any discussion before we vote? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? And Chris, just to clarify, you were voting
am
on
voting
this one?
yes.
Yes, okay. All right, application is approved.
Good luck.
Yep.
Well,
Next is public hearing 2212-25, Town of Wethersfield, seeking zoning text amendments in accordance with section 10.1.f of the Wethersfield Zoning Regulations to amend sections 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, 6.2, and proposed section 6.14. And I think, many of you, I think, were at a workshop that we had several months ago. I think we've possibly talked about it one other time at one of our meetings as well. But I'm going to ask Dave if he will just give us an overview of these changes. And again, I think these are a combination of adjustments, some of which are designed to come into compliance with newer state requirements. And some of them are a little bit of cleanup and clarification of some of our own regulations at our own request.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman, and I'm happy to answer individual questions, but I thought that it would be good just to sort of run through them. I know for most of you, you've seen this several times, but I thought that because it is a public hearing, that we should just run through it. So I'm not going to repeat what was just said in the memo because that is it, but I'm going to start on the first page of the proposal. So this is our existing SRD zone, and as we'll see in detail, the Public Act 21-29 said that no municipality may specify, and these are my words, not the Public Act. The Public Act is attached to this, so if someone has it, they could look at it while I'm going through this, but it says that a municipality cannot specify a minimum square feet that is greater than that is allowed by the building code. And so throughout the regulations, anywhere that we have specified a minimum square foot requirement of a residential property, we have eliminated that because it is now something that we cannot do, and it is established by the building department.
Can I
I'm
ask
sorry, not by the building code.
quick question, Dave? I'm just a little confused. Are the floor area text in section F, is that contained within section 3.4, the SRD regs, or no?
Yes, it is. So I put the heading that you see at the top is just me identifying the section that we are within. So yes, it is.
Okay.
So does that mean it doesn't apply to the other?
I'm going to go through every section where we change the minimum floor area. We're going to see it changed.
In more than this.
And more than just this
Okay.
section, right? This is the first place we see it changed in the regulations, which is why it appears first.
So Dave, just out of curiosity, if we remove the 800 square foot, it's set by, you said the building department or the building code?
Building code.
The Uniform Building Code of Connecticut sets that?
Yeah, let me, because we're going to be here for a little bit, it's worthwhile. Let me just open it.
Up to page 11, is the section you're looking for?
So here?
Nope, keep going.
Page 11, there you go, right there.
So,
7, right?
yep. And at the, I should go back up so you can see it. So the regulations may not prohibit proposed conditions, may not prohibit not establish
Right.
for any dwelling unit a minimum floor area that is greater than the minimum floor area set forth in the applicable building, housing, or other code. Go back? Want to keep going? Okay. That's the first one, and there are multiple changes throughout that we'll see. Accessory apartment, again, this is where we had established, this comes directly from the Public Act does allow us, these are established from the Public Act, so it does say that we are allowed for the accessory apartment not to exceed 1,000 square feet or 30% of the floor area of a single-family dwelling, whichever is less. So those 1,000 square feet or the 30% are specified in the Public Act 21-29. Does anyone want to see that, or should I keep going?
And the 30% is also specified?
Correct.
Okay.
Either or, whichever is less.
I would just, a quick question about the floor area though for multifamily residential. It says that the maximum would be the state building code, which means we could set it to lower if we wanted. So by us getting rid of it, we're not saying that.
Oh, correct.
We're kind of, we're kind of saying that that's the ceiling, but we're not setting a threshold that would otherwise be a standard we might use to make a decision.
On the larger side.
No. So the way that the statute was written, it was saying that the maximum is 1,000 square feet. Like the minimum we could set would be. Let me go back to the reading. I'm talking myself in circles here. So you said the building code sets it at a certain amount. The state building code says establish a unit minimum that is greater than that. So we could set the minimum lower than what is there. So we can't set the minimum
Oh, yes, but not
higher.
lower
So if the
than-
state says that the minimum is 450 square feet, then we can't say that the minimum for Wethersfield is 550, but we could say it's 350 if we want to allow micro units. It doesn't restrict us from setting a smaller threshold. It restricts us from setting a larger threshold.
Sounds like theoretically, yes, but question whether the easiest way to do it is just track
Yeah,
the
right.
state code.
I think that is it. My point is just if we were to want to make a decision in the future, we wouldn't have any kind of a reference point because we don't set that threshold in our zoning code at all. So, anybody can come in with any application. I mean, I don't know how many we get, so how much does it really matter? But my point is just, do we want to have that reference point in our zoning code? Because this says that whatever, what is the unit minimum in regular building code and housing code for the state.
Are you asking that question?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I want to say it's 430, but I would want to check that.
All right, I thought it was somewhere around 450. So, like, if we were to say, you know, we wanted to allow some other kind of structure, would that just be a regular conversation, or would we then, or would it be better for us to actually set that so that it's not below 350 or something?
I mean, I suppose the building code could be amended over
Yeah.
time and change what the minimum is, and
Yeah.
then we could go out of compliance.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, okay.
Okay. We move on. I'm going to move on until someone tells me to stop. We are eliminating the requirement that there be an exterior, that there be a requirement for any common entryways, that there share a common wall. That was expressly prohibited in the public act that we can, that a town can require that. So we are removing that so that this parking space, we're going to see, I'm going to show you this now because we're on the page. So we cannot require more than one parking space for each studio or one bedroom dwelling unit, or more than two parking spaces for each dwelling unit with two or more bedrooms, unless the municipality opts out, which we didn't, in accordance with, Wethersfield didn't, in accordance with provisions of Section 5. So I was going to the, so many towns do require a certain connection, how the accessory apartment is accessed. It prohibits the towns from doing that, and therefore that's why we are removing Wethersfield existing requirement that did require that it have a secondary entrance incorporated into their principal residence to reflect the architectural style of the single-family unit.
Talked about this, I think, at the workshop, but under the new state statutory requirements, in theory, somebody could have an outbuilding on their property and make the accessory apartment in that completely disconnected from the main house.
Correct.
Okay.
Every single-family residential property is entitled to one accessory dwelling unit by right.
Okay.
Which is really the biggest change for Wethersfield, is that these used to be approved by special permit with these conditions, and now it's by right. The building, however, the accessory the structure wherein the accessory dwelling unit is located does need to comply with the principal building setbacks on the lot, which is important because the setbacks for an accessory structure are in some cases 5 feet. So someone could not have an accessory structure, someone could not have an accessory dwelling unit within 5 feet of the property line because that does not comply with the principal setbacks of the lot. Okay, I'm gonna keep going.
And they can make it anything that look like anything they want. We have no say. Based on that paragraph E.
Well, I mean, the height and the setbacks all
I'm
have
talking
to
about the
conform.
look. The guy builds a box out of texture 111, you can have people living back there. Yes, right.
As long as it complies with building and fire codes in the historic district, it's got to comply with the historic district.
Why does it have to comply with the historic district? And doesn't this override it? The state say, we don't care about the historic district. We want
No, I don't believe it does.
The historic district can override the state, but the town of Wethersfield can't override the state.
Well, I think what it's saying is that the historic district couldn't outright deny the accessory apartment, but
I'm
it
talking
could.
about the look.
Yeah, the aesthetic piece of it though, yes.
Force it to be compliant with the aesthetics.
Because I think the state imbues them with that.
Because the historic district's jurisdiction is not about the use or the structure.
It's about the look.
It's about the look of anything.
Yeah, but doesn't this E basically say this, based on what the state said, they don't care about the look, and that all the looks went away?
I think we'd have to go look in more detail at the statute, Dave, because my recollection is I think it talks about no zoning commission shall, and maybe
Yeah.
cites the zoning statutes, but historic district is under a different
One,
section.
I guess, doesn't make it.
Yeah.
There's a lawsuit coming here
Yeah.
somewhere. It's like, okay.
Yeah, if you want to fight the historic district for a lot of money over your accessory building.
Well, again, if I read this, I'm not a lawyer, the historic district has no say on this now. Basically, at this point, they have no say on accessory, none.
I don't know that we
We'll see.
can,
Like I say,
yeah, I don't know. I think safer for us to stick on what we can't do, I guess, right? Which seems like quite a few things.
It's what it is.
So parking, this change is the one we just read, that one
Right.
page. So this is where we cannot require more than one space per studio or one-bedroom unit, or more than two per two-bedroom unit. Accessory buildings and structures. This is one of the process proposals that has been discussed, that a lot of the applications we see were historically and can be again approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals by special exception. And for those who weren't at the workshop, we did have our corporate counsel there, and he did explain that the same, that the Zoning Board of Appeals, when approving a special exception, will still have the ability and the requirement to make the determinations that the proposal is in harmony with all of the criteria that this commission uses to determine a special permit. The Zoning Board of Appeals will also be applying those for when they approve a special exception.
Is there a, somewhere beyond the zoning chart that just says it's a special exception from ZBA? Is there going to be a cross-reference to the standards in our zoning regs that has those criteria?
Now that you bring that up, I will need to, we should make a note of that for action, is that we should include in the regulations where it says criteria for special permit by this commission, we should include the language that says, or by special exception by the Zoning Board of Appeals.
And have we, I don't have them in front of me, but in the Zoning Board of Appeals section of the regs, does it list special exception as one of their items, or do we need to add that reference, whatever the section is that deals with them?
I don't have the answer at the top of my head, but I think it's worthwhile if we could take a look, unless anyone. So we did add this.
Right, so it just references that it's in their jurisdiction, but
We want to say the criteria by which they apply, right?
yeah, which either could be done in the table, I suppose. There could be a note that it says special exceptions by, you could refer under the particular use category for outbuilding to the section and cross-reference it, or later in the text of ZBA, which, any idea what section ZBA is? Trying to find my regs, I can't get them. I guess I'm just going to say, I think this is, if we don't have it in there now, I think this is important enough that we should not act tonight and should get the standards in, because otherwise we're directing them to hear certain applications without making very clear what the standards are that they're supposed to apply. There you go. So it talks about appeals from the ZEO, such other powers. So scroll down, procedures. I guess one question I have is whether we need to add a 5 that says, to hear special exceptions as designated or not. But then if you keep going down, Dave, in their stuff where it talks about procedures, and then if you keep going farther, it's variances. So for variances, it lays out what the statutory standard is. Variances, additional variances, limitations.
So here we would have special exceptions that include our special permit criteria?
Either set it out, spell it out, cross-reference it, but I think we need to do something, and it might be in the table, but I think we need to address that item. Because there are specific, I think for those outbuilding things, aren't there specific sections in the regs that lay out what the criteria are, plus it may also be that we want to cross-reference the general special permit criteria as well, and which is freestanding in the, you know what I'm saying? So it could be a general special permit criteria plus any specific ones unique to the specific use. Yeah, I don't think that came up when we did the workshop to that level of detail. All right, but why don't you keep going on the other, and why don't you maybe just explain what it is? I think you were about to explain which ones are going. I guess section 3.5 is where you left off, right?
Yeah, so the, well, before we get there, so the garages, I want to touch base on the garages because this is something that has confused, it's confused property owners as well as some of the commissions. So currently, if you want to apply for a detached accessory structure or garage over 850 square feet, you can go to this commission for a special permit because it's detached. But if you have an attached garage and you want that garage to be larger than 850 square feet, you have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to grant the variance. The intent is that no garage, which is defined as a structure housing no more than 3 vehicles, cannot be over 850 square feet. So what this does is this would say that all garages, attached or detached, including carports, are permitted as long as they do not exceed 850 square feet. And that any outbuilding, I want to make sure there's no garages.
And it says that if you want to exceed 850, you've got to go for.
You would be going for a special, actually I want to say any outbuilding. We want any other accessory buildings and structures customarily incidental to permitted use larger than 200 square feet all go to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
I guess, was the intent that if it's over 850, it just goes as a variance to ZBA or as a special exception?
Special exception to ZBA. Versus right now, they're going to ZBA for a variance when it's attached. And they're coming here when it's detached.
When it's detached and somebody wants, yeah, but
It's treated as an accessory structure over 200 square feet. And so now any garage, detached or attached, over 850 square feet is going to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special exception.
right, and as I was looking over your shoulder, I guess I just didn't see anything specifically jumping out that says over 850 special exception.
That's right. Well, this is it, because it's considered an accessory building or structure customarily incidental.
Right, but that one's larger than 200
Which-
square feet as opposed to the 850 that you referenced. What you're pointing to now is a different, I'm not sure.
Well, right, because what happens is once they
Well, that's-
exceed 850 square feet, they then fall into the category of an accessory.
Well, I think it's because this is referring to something other than a garage. Other accessory buildings and structures versus garages, which are spelled out specifically above.
Correct. So are you
I think it's a
suggesting that we include specifically that any garage or combination thereof over 850 square feet goes to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special exception? Because what's happening now is they are going, once they exceed 850, they're considered an accessory building over 200. That's why we did not distinguish garages as being different than accessory structures.
So if we don't say anything, they go to a variance to the ZBA.
Right now or in the
Correct.
future?
Well, either way, if it's
Well,
over
not a variance
850.
to the ZBA, a special exception to the ZBA. Now they go to a variance.
But you're pointing to that other section that talks about over 200. Yeah, I'm just a little confused. And I guess we were trying to send to the ZBA anything that we currently do in a special permit situation. I don't think we were necessarily thinking that they should have a more relaxed standard from something that currently requires a variance to require, to allow it by special exception. We were just saying if it's a special permit today, make it a special exception with them, same standards. But if it was something that we couldn't allow by special permit and they needed a variance for it, I think we want to leave it that way, probably. Otherwise, you're making it easier for people to build 1,000-foot freestanding garages because they don't have to prove hardship.
Okay, yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do, I think I follow you, thanks for saying. So rather than, we are not, right, so but we would not allow garages specifically to be approved by special exception or by special permit over 850 square feet, period. And that would be going to ZBA for a variance.
Which it already is, you're saying, if it's over 850.
Correct, that's what's happening now.
I think we want to keep that.
Yes.
What we're
Well,
saying.
isn't that just like a kind of a duplicate section? We had that come up with that other garage, and when we looked at it, I thought it was kind of a duplicate section. And so the standard is remaining. This doesn't remove that standard, I don't think.
Just, I want to make sure I'm clear. So, because what's happening, and you all have seen these more than I have, right? But my understanding is what's happening is that once garages are defined to be for vehicle storage, I think for three or less motor vehicles. That's the definition of a garage. But what's happening, as I understand it, is that once you exceed 850 square feet, it's then being treated not as a garage, but it's being treated by the Planning and Zoning Commission as an accessory structure over 200 square feet.
I don't recall that ever happening.
No?
No.
So you still treat it as a garage?
Good, right? I mean, all we wanted to do was get rid of the 200 square foot, issue that comes here all the time. That's all we wanted to fix. And just leave it at that. So any accessory building greater than 200 square feet goes to ZBA, and they determine by special exception if it's adequate or not. And what you're suggesting, Joe, is that the criteria that we would use to make the determination, which we don't want to do anymore,
Right.
would somehow be
Their
referenced
criteria.
or specifically written.
Correct.
Yeah.
To make crystal clear
Yeah.
that they have guidelines that they need to apply.
That makes sense.
But I agree with you. For the other stuff where right now they want to do a 2,000 square foot garage, they need a variance, it's not ours. It should stay variance material and don't make it easier.
Right. Because if you remove the variance, then you don't have a hardship,
Right.
then you're going to get into this debate, on.
Right.
Just so I'm clear, what you're saying is, no, we want, the intent is no garages over 850 square feet, period, either by special permit or by special exception. And if you want to have a garage over 850 square feet, you would be applying for a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Right, but that's where it's important, I think, to distinguish the two sections.
I
'cause
agree.
don't
I just want to make sure I understand, and then I'll.
That's correct.
right.
I understand correct.
That's
Yes.
what I'm saying is that the 200 for other accessory buildings should not be applicable to a garage.
Correct.
It's dealing with other accessory structures, as I read it. What does the word "other" mean, right?
No, I agree with, I think,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Are you suggesting,
I'm just saying we should not be interpreting the 200 section as allowing somebody to go get a special exception for a 900 square foot
understand.
garage.
understood. So,
Because I don't think we are today when they need to come to us for a special permit either.
so is that the case? So I'm not sure if that's, but is what,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what, I understand the intent. I will.
I really, it's hard not looking, at the list in the regs, but I think the,
I think the intent is to make it clear that the garage is not a structure that can be approved over 200 square
well,
feet.
right here it
by
is,
either
it's,
plan.
permitted accessory uses under section 6, it talks about no garage or combination of garage space in a house shall be more than 850. That's under section A, incidental parking. And then the other section that you pointed us to is, where's the one that talked about the 200, Dave?
That is.
What section?
That is section 3.5.
G, 3.5G, 0.1G. G4.
Sorry, you said G4?
Yeah, it's page 46 in our document packet.
I'm looking in the regs, sorry, and I'm just not
Oh.
finding it.
The pages here are kind of, oh, they are. Sorry, it's a different, the way the pages in our document, that's not where that is.
Other accessory buildings
Yes,
and
that's
structures
under
customarily.
G4? Come I'm online under miscellaneous accessory uses, and there isn't a G4. It only has a G1 and a G2.
He's got a G4 up there, Joe.
Right, but I'm online on the town's website, and I'm looking at regs that say they were revised through... It's missing something. These were revised through November 29, 23, where they changed.
No, that should be there.
Up to May 24.
Oh, it's in, it's
Scroll down.
on our,
Yeah.
it's page, it is page 46, yeah. It's page 46 in that
That's, and
document.
I'm looking at something through November 29th, which was after that. So I'm wondering if we got rid of 3 and 4 in G, because it's not the same as what you have in yours.
The one that's in our packet is section 3.6. It's page 46 of our actual zoning regulations.
We didn't get rid of the 200 square foot thing, but we got rid of other stuff.
It says other accessory buildings and structures customarily incidental to a permitted use larger than 200
Say
square feet.
3.6.
On page 100 of 130.
Thank you.
Wait, what? Oh, that's of our doc.
What section, Tracy?
That one right there. See, number 4.
Accessory buildings.
Yeah, mine was red and highlighted.
Yeah, that was in the packet,
So
so
that's our packet. We're talking about where it is in our actual zoning
I'm
regs.
sorry.
So this page is actually page 46 in the zoning regs.
I understand the intent, and because I'm going to be changing the special exception, can I just,
Oh, wait a minute. So this, maybe I was looking someplace else. Now I see it. I think I was in a different section, but I'm not quite sure. I apologize if I was. But bottom line is, remember, so this is under G, miscellaneous accessory structures, which is different than section A, which talks about the garages, right? That was A. Use category. Actually, you're in use category B.
I think the way that it's put into our agenda packet is a little bit misleading. It's a little bit confusing. So it's two different sections. The first section
Right.
with the 850 garage piece is section 351, and the 200 square foot piece is section 36 of our zoning.
we have accessory structures and accessory uses, correct?
Yes.
And because it's repeated, I put them together because the change is going to
Right.
flow through both.
But 3.6, it's section B that talks about one detached or carport not more than 850 square feet. That's under garages as an accessory building and structure, and then there's an entirely different category, G, called miscellaneous accessory structures, and that's the one that has the other accessory buildings and structures customarily incidental and 200 square feet or less. So to me, the other does not address garages, period, the way it's written. And now we just need to, so, and I think we leave garages at the 850 and we just focus on what it is that we are changing and maybe just make sure we've covered it adequately. So G4 is becoming a special exception for the ZBA. Right?
Yes, let me just make sure I have it. Yes.
Right.
I think that there's, we're getting a little mixed up across the section. So I don't think, my understanding of the reading of this was not that section G4 would be changed relative to the garages. That one is just being changed from special permit to
Correct.
to special exception. So the G4 doesn't have to do with the garages. What is highlighted with the two garages is because in the accessory uses, you have that first section and then it refers back up. So it's in 3.6, and then it refers back up to 3.5, and they say the exact same thing. And that's where it gets confusing, because they just kind of cycle back on each other for no reason.
Right, and it was 3.5 what?
3.51A.
Under the table.
Yep.
A. Although but in 3.51A, it doesn't specify the 850, it just talks, like you said, Chris, about the use being allowed, right?
3.1.5A, well, that's the way things. So our zoning says 3.5.1A5, and I think it's actually 6 in section 3.5.
Oh, I see, all right, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think it gets very confusing that they deal with it twice in the regs, Dave, so I think we just need to, may need to change it. Are we changing it right now in 2 places, in both the use and
Yes,
the
that
other?
was the-
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's helpful for me now to understand that we, clearly the commission, unless someone disagrees, no one intended for garages to be treated as accessory structures over 200 square feet.
Over 850.
Over 850. But, yes.
Right, so, okay. So I think we just, the biggest thing so far is we need standards for the ZBA. And then in the process of doing that, I think there's a chance to just make sure all these other things are set. And it's going to take some thought to figure out how to get those standards in there the best way,
Well, I was going to carry over the special permit standards that this commission finds over to the zoning board of appeals as special exception.
I'm going to just restate them.
Correct. As a special exception findings. And I think at the time, Ken Slater just said you could just say or, and leave them where they are and just refer, but there's a lot of reference changes back. Because ZBA shall find when approving a special exception, those in section, I will make it clear though, I understand.
Without regurgitating all of
Correct.
them, you could say something like, shall apply the standard set forth in section 4.2 for special permits.
Correct.
But then I guess if there's standalone standards for any of the use categories that are going for special exception, you'd have to pull those over too and say in case of a, for example, are there other ones that deal with the boat not being too close to the property line or which yard it has to be in? I don't know what we're making into the special exception.
Yes, so right here, so let's move on, that's the next page. So
Okay.
by special permit, currently, what would go to the zoning board of appeals as special exception would be the outside storage of a recreational vehicle, boat, or trailer by a resident when not in compliance with the above provisions, which is you may store the outside storage of one recreational vehicle, one boat and its trailer, or one automobile trailer not more than 18 feet in length, may only be parked in the rear yard by a resident when treated as an accessory structure in compliance with section 3.6.
So I guess that's going to be clear because section 4 is going to say if you don't meet those, you need to go to the ZBA and then you're going to have the special permit, regs cross-referenced.
Correct.
Okay.
As the same as the
And
special
the same for
exception.
keeping of livestock, that was a special permit use previously?
Correct.
Okay, okay. All right,
So same, yeah, I will make that change throughout.
okay.
The guest house, this is one that we discussed at the workshop that we do have a separate regulation for a guest house, and it was the consensus at the end of the workshop to eliminate it, just to avoid confusion. Trying to remember if I can restate that whole discussion, but I remember it was somewhat lengthy, and I think we all agreed that it
It was
Didn't make a
potentially conflicting with the other new rules, and do we want to be promoting more guest houses, right? I think that was part of the discussion.
right by a
Okay.
separate set of standards
Right.
than
Okay,
what's currently a very, liberal and giving
Yep.
ability for accessory apartments.
all right, so that one we've kind of talked about. The other,
Right, other than large. This, I was going to go to the zoning board of appeals. Those are the ones over 200, and I will make sure that the findings that we currently apply for
Yep.
special permits will be
Okay.
done by special exception.
Yep.
And then this is the new section for affordability. It's relatively simple, it's clear cut. We decided not to take advantage or use some of the other options available to us through inclusionary zoning, which included the ability for a developer to pay a fee in lieu of building the affordable units and instead pay us a fee. And we also decided not to have a graduated scale of affordability based on the number of units. So as written, this would do a few things. One, it would require any multifamily housing development in any district, so whether it's an SRD or a mixed-use development, at 10%, a minimum of 10% must be set aside as defined by 8-30G as affordable, and part of that includes the submission of affordable plan, including the certification annually.
Would that as written, with the 10% for 10 or more dwelling units, if somebody was doing an 11-lot residential subdivision, 11 separate lots of record owned by 11 different people, would that mean that they have to do an affordable freestanding house as part of the development?
That's a good question. I believe the intention was not, because we included multifamily.
Yeah, the way it's written, it makes it sound like it would include something like a condominium, like townhouses. I don't think that was the intent. I thought it was apartments.
Well, it says all applications for development
Yeah.
resulting.
It would. So it would include, yeah.
Standalone, single-family homes. Yes. So I guess that's a question of,
That doesn't make sense. I don't think we want to do that.
Nope,
I don't agree with that.
no way.
is there a definition of multifamily that we could draw upon somewhere? Whatever the right terminology would be. You know, is there basically for
Yeah, I know.
So we would, I understand the intent would be to remove, we would not want this to apply to single-family homes. What about condominiums and townhouses?
I guess, well, I think, I don't know that condominium, well, I mean, technically speaking, it says,
Neighbor, one guy has one tax rate, the next guy has the other tax rate, they're both the same building.
well, it's not the different tax rate, it's the purchase
understand.
price, right?
Yeah, right,
But I mean,
the
we,
assessment and everything. It's just-
but I guess you could also look at it that if somebody builds a 100-unit condo building, why should it be treated differently than a 100-unit rental building? That they both could be identical side-by-side buildings working the same way, same unit size, and should we be promoting the affordability for the one that's owned just as much for the one that's rented? Just a question.
Yeah.
But you can flip it just like a subdivision, because really a condo's a subdivision in one building.
It's one lot.
Does go on the-
And I guess that's why I'm saying, I think we need to understand I think our multifamily definition probably doesn't distinguish between rental versus condo, I bet.
I think it's also the sold, like the sold at.
And there are, I mean, under the state statute, it does apply, I think the state affordable housing statute does apply to sold condos where their sale price is restricted.
It counts for 830G if the mortgage came through that. It doesn't count for 830G because of the sale price necessarily, because that gets into a whole other.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, so a developer who goes into a different town and wants to build 100 condos could say, I'm making it an 8-30G application, and 30, they probably wouldn't do it, maybe economically, but they could say 30 of the 100 units are going to be deed restricted, affordable, and sell.
Maybe. I guess I've never
It
heard
is
of
done,
that.
it's in the statute, I think, if you read it, that it's either the rental, I believe, but anyway, we just have to do what the consensus is. and I
What do
think-
other towns have for this definition, though?
What is- yeah, what
I
is
guess, are we
Glastonbury?
reinventing the wheel? We don't need
This was
to.
modeled after Glastonbury's, and I remember talking to
Ken?
staff there, and they were going to, it does apply, I believe, to single-family.
In Glastonbury.
Glastonbury developments. So I can, yeah, Yeah, I will find out. I can also call our town attorney just to see if they have any ideas. They're working with this across the state, so they might have some good ideas. But if I understand the intent, we do not want to apply this to single-family home subdivisions. But just so I'm clear on the condominium and the townhouses, what is it that we are, because you could have a very large condominium or condo complex owned or rented. Generally condos are, if there's a common interest, it's a condominiums are common interest community.
Same as a house, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand where,
It's the same thing.
I just,
Multifamily development is defined in our regs as a building or complex of buildings on common property, so it would really be on a single parcel designed for or occupied by more than two families. So if you use the definition of multifamily, I think that probably does capture potentially a condo, because that's not a subdivision for a condo. So we just need to pick what we think is appropriate, but I think definitely go back to the person in Glastonbury, go back to Ken.
but as of right now, condominiums would be included
I
in the
think
definition of
so. If we
multifamily.
said it applies to multifamily over 10, I think it would apply to condos, if that's the word.
And we do
use.
not want it applied to condos. That's what I'm saying.
Is that the consensus?
How can you apply it to a condo? We share a common wall in a condominium, yours is I'm just gonna, of a different rate. But, so, yeah, two apples essentially, but you pay less than I do on your assessment.
I think they have to pay the same monthly fees. I don't think that can be
Yeah, right.
bent.
But no, I meant our taxes. Because it goes, one sold for 50% less than the other on a regular basis, how can I charge them property tax?
I don't see that it couldn't be done in a condo because condominiums are governed by bylaws and articles, right, of incorporation. So there's no reason that those couldn't include the restriction for affordability, rent or sale. So we can exclude the condominiums. I just want to that's the direction of the commission.
And a condo being rented or not, to me, is irrelevant, because you can rent your single-family home or not. Is what it is. You have the deed to it, you own it. You don't have the deed and you don't own your apartment. You didn't take the mortgage out of your apartment.
It also, there are deed restricted condos. I just pulled up the
Oh, absolutely,
830,
yes.
the housing statute, but it's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are we, I'll ask, is the intent that we have any, mid-rise, multifamily, residential rental properties?
I was thinking it was gonna be just rental. That's what I thought, but
Yep.
whatever you guys.
All rented property be affordable, on that Affordable Act?
Over
Yeah,
10%.
and by the way, the definition of set aside.
I'm saying is,
Sorry.
you can't buy a house and then for so many years put in your income level to prove you have the right to the affordable house.
So Chris might know more, but I think as a developer, if you're selling property, you actually could be required as a developer to sell a certain number to individuals at a certain income level
Yeah,
and maintain.
We don't want
I don't know if we need to get into that debate of how to do that, but it sounds like the intent is to have rental properties of multifamily developments based on our definition, but excluding, I don't even know if condominiums, because we would eliminate condominiums because they're not rental, they're owned.
Set, and I will tell
An
you.
owner could rent their condominium, but it is owned.
And the definition in the affordable housing statute covers restriction on rents and on sale of individual units if they're affordable units, that they can only be sold to people making X percent of the median income. So I think you definitely need to talk to our lawyer.
Well, I
in terms
understand
of
if
how
you
to-
if I came in here and said, hey, I'm gonna build this project, it's gonna have 10% affordable, well, in 10 years when I go sell it, it can't be, those aren't affordable anymore.
I think it's restricted for
Yeah.
40 years, but
Change it
yeah.
along the way, or.
I think that's the whole thing. So I think the definition of set aside, the same way you have median income in here, you can refer to the definition.
And the set-aside definition includes the
Right.
for sale
Yep.
thing. So I think you definitely need to talk to Ken, and if the consensus is only apply it to apartments, get some guidance from him on what the language should be.
If we only included rental units are we going to be running into problems with not having the correct percent that we're trying to go for in town to keep up?
It's going to reduce the applicability of this, but I think the largest, yeah, it's a good point. I was trying to make, I was thinking this would be as broad as possible, but yeah, if we would then, the largest developments typically are owned by a developer who's renting them. So I think that we would still capture the biggest, most impactful large developments at the 10%.
In reality, in this town, there's very little land for single family, so that's kind of a no, never mind. Maybe some condos, but I don't think it should apply to condos. I think we should just keep it simple and keep it to rental units only.
And I guess, the other question for Ken is, can we do that,
Use the definition of
clearly
set aside.
and make sure that it's
The
enforced?
only way it works for condos, which can't work, is if the guy bought 10 condos. Then he's gonna rent them all out, but it's not gonna happen. So it can't be for condos. How's the guy in Jordan Lane getting away with just 5%?
Because this is not,
It's not, we have no requirement.
there's no requirement in this
The
town
state
yet.
had a requirement.
Only if a developer seeks to go in under the state requirement, which is 30% affordable, I believe, and then they don't have to comply with any of the zoning rules. But I think the practical matter is, it can be very economically difficult for a developer to want to do that, right?
State set the target that the court system uses, that if you don't have that 10%, they automatically win on appeal. That's the state action, is if the municipality doesn't have the 10% set aside, the developer can come in and disregard your zoning regulations through an 8-.
I mean, they essentially present the application as under 8-30G from the
Jordan
outset.
Lane did it just because he was before we're doing this.
He was being a nice guy, he gave us 5%.
He knew that it's a zone change, the commission could have denied it.
So let me just ask, if this were enacted, what we heard from the guy is, I can't make 10% work, because we asked him. I asked him specifically, why not 10%? He says, I can't do it. I won't be able to afford doing it. So if this had been enacted, he would walk away from the development because we have this 10%, he can't do 10%?
He said he was gonna walk away, right?
That's what would happen?
So what happened?
Whoa.
We'll just do out his math, even if take his highest rent and do it out per the units, and then tax it and all it out, figure it out, and what he walks away with a year. And his debt service on it, whether we paid cash or not.
Or his profit is
And-
less.
And there's no money in the deal if he had to go 10%.
Part of it, I think, Jim, he was pointing to all the big environmental and other costs that he
Oh, I
had
understand.
in that particular site.
But I mean,
Absolutely.
but could we, as a commission, say, all right, well, we don't want you to walk away, so I know we said 10%, but we will allow 5. Is that going to be possible in the future?
I don't think we can waive our regulation, no.
Mm.
I wasn't even looking at the
Can I-
construction side. I was
I
just
don't
looking
think
at
he
his
came
monthly
in
cash
last
flow.
month.
Yeah. I also, just to point out, I think everyone knows this, and I'm working on it, but the Plan of Conservation Development brought to my attention. Multifamily housing is a cost burden to Wethersfield. They're not covering their costs in a multifamily residential development that the town expends to cover them. So, if the developer walks away, the town's cost of supporting that is also walking away.
So a way of looking at it could be, if they do our 10%, we're getting something of value to give people housing choices. And if they walk away because they don't want to do the 10%, then we're not incurring a net loss to the town because it's a housing development and school children and whatever else, right? But that as a purpose, I guess the real issue is, do we care about encouraging people to build as many possible apartment units as they can without affordable housing? Because that's more important to us to squeeze every apartment in town than to try to create affordable housing. And I guess from my perspective, I think I'd rather, you take your lumps with the 10%. A lot of times people will say they can't do it, but maybe they will do it. But I don't think the future of Wethersfield right now is squeezing 1,000 more residential units necessarily, right? So do we basically say we'll take the risk?
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
the question.
Right, you said it well the first time you said it, is that the benefit to the town of the residential development is increasing its number of affordability to preserve and protect it from a development that would cost quite a bit more, and it creates a housing affordability for people who...
But we have to keep in mind that, again, Wethersfield has very little land to work with, and a lot of this is redevelopment. I mean, I'd hate to have the guy walk away from a redevelopment of a major messy area because of 5%.
He has no choice, but he could build single-family homes.
Well, I know, but he's not gonna do that either. I mean,
and what-
I mean,
Numbers don't work on
it's-
that.
It's 30 years that nothing's
numbers don't work
happened
on it.
there.
I understand it because he got caught up in all the people living there, the bones were living. Let me tell you, when I was in town council years ago, and I'm not gonna say the councilor's name, but he did an analysis, and it was a really good analysis, that every house that goes up for sale in Wethersfield, if the town bought it and took it down, we'd save money.
Oh, yeah, because the schools, police, fire, all that stuff.
Everything. Buy a house, take it down, just keep buying them, save money, so it's
I mean,
The benefit, the risk, I hear what you're saying, Peter, the risk is that someone might walk away is a real risk, right? But by not having 10% of your housing stock, developers' incremental economies of scale go up with their number of units, right? So once you don't have, and the town is close, 9.57% today. It would be good for us not to slide backwards. If they do slide backwards, there's nothing to prevent a developer from coming in and proposing a 1,700 unit apartment. And the cost to support that is much greater than the cost of seeing a small development walk away.
although I'll play the counterpoint to that, but that developer is going to have to do 30% affordable housing to qualify under the statute, which is tougher economically than the 10.
Which means they want more units to
But-
soften the blow of the 30%.
But I guess the other thing, it seems, what applicant don't we have telling us that whatever it is going to mean they can't go forward with the project? We hear it all the time. And, are there maybe certain pieces of land that don't work? But bottom line is, if somebody wants to do
All right.
it
I mean,
badly enough, right?
If we, if the consensus is to live with the risk, I'm fine with that. I mean, it is risky. I just wanted to point that out.
I'm also going to propose, I think what Tracy said, kind of, if we're going to reduce the number of applications where this is going to apply, do we want to increase the number above 10%? No? Okay.
I think that's a little aggressive, probably, if we're trying to get comfortable even with just the 10.
Yeah, no.
I think it's a reasonable place for us to start and have a conversation about it, and if we need to go back and revisit that number at some point, we can. I don't know there's any future where building gets that much cheaper and easier on, especially in a town, Wethersfield, with just 2 or 3 spots where you might want to put apartments left in town.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, I'm going to revise this to reflect, we only want it to apply to multifamily developments in accordance with our definition that are not owner occupied, which is what I need to ask the attorney about, and whether or not we can continue to keep the set aside reference in 8-30G because it does include owner occupied. So I need to reconcile that, right? But that is the intent.
And that our multifamily definition does include owner occupied currently. So if we're using that definition, I think we're pulling that into it. So,
And we do not want it to be owner occupied any.
yeah, I guess it's for sale units, I guess maybe a better way to look at it than owner occupied. We want it to be rentals, right? Not owned individual units.
Okay.
But,
That's going to take a little bit, but that's, we don't meet again for a month, so I will work on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is good that we went through this, because you see
Yeah.
that we already came up with things that once they get embedded in the regulations, that's it, and
Yep.
can cause issues. So I think this was a valuable discussion. And I think what we need to do, you were at the end, I think, right?
I was, yeah.
So I think what we need to do is announce that the hearing is being kept open and continued to our next meeting, when we get to the point of concluding this
Which is
discussion.
when?
August 19th.
August 19th? Okay.
Thanks for your work on this. This is a lot of work.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did a lot of research, so.
Thank you, guys. Sorry I didn't have some of that more clear, but actually I
It's a lot.
learned, I didn't realize the garages were not being treated as accessory over, so that's good to know.
Well, your clarity of the state reg and then our nuances and our, in the middle, it's a lot.
If I can just,
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Get a better parking space.
Be interesting to know if there's any other towns that limited it to rentals, you know? Part of what you're
I'm going to ask,
pursuing. Ken?
yeah.
Yeah, he'll know. Okay.
Joe, if I could just add one more question. So you highlighted in 21-29, you highlighted the section there, and then there's a specific section that says that zoning regulations shall not be applied to deny any land use application, including any site plan approval, special permit, special exception, or other zoning approval on the basis of a district's character. And we have that specifically in multiple places in our zoning regulations. So that same act, we're making conforming changes to, but we did not go through and make those conforming changes, even though there's a lot of them. I think I counted, more than 10 in our.
Did we discuss that one with Ken? I don't
We
remember.
did, and the reason that I didn't is because generally, like tonight, we made an express finding. Generally, if we were to, the way that that's being applied is that some communities have in their decisions for or against, they will say, we deny this application because we find it is not in character. And that, I understand, is exactly why they included that. This commission doesn't do that, many commissions don't. So I don't think the risk of us having that in there, because we don't generally make express findings of consistency or inconsistency. So I didn't go through, but could. I mean, that's a question for the commission. You know, we're not relying on that generally when we make our decisions.
Although, one thing I'll just, so I think I agree with you, Dave, that if it's in the reg, but we don't deny an application based on that particular standard, then just the mere fact that it's in the reg isn't going to matter.
Did the historic district do that, though?
Different animal, but yeah. But what I would be concerned with is if you go through those special permit regulations, Chris, they weave a lot of dense words together, all of which have to do with a variety of impacts. And you'd have to be really, really careful if you're going to start stripping out the word character every single time, that you're not like diluting the, you know what I'm saying? You'd have to do it in a very thoughtful way. And I suppose that's another question you could ask Ken when you talk to him,
Yeah.
Dave, just in term, and I could have sworn, I could have sworn he said, leave it in and just don't rely on it, but I could be wrong on that when we had the meeting a few months ago. I thought maybe we touched upon it. Thought you raised it, but maybe not.
It's not ringing a bell,
Okay,
but we very
okay.
well could have.
Okay.
But I think, you know, generally, and this commission doesn't, I have seen and worked for other communities where they list the special permit criteria that applications do and do not comply with in their decision, because generally in courts, they will go through and look at a record, and if
Right.
the commission states
But-
what it is, then they'll look for it. But
And what does character mean? Does it just mean we don't want a multifamily apartment building in our pristine single-family neighborhood?
Yeah.
That's one thing, but on the other hand, I think we still should have the ability to say the building is too tall or too big. You know, that is a sub-variety of character that may not.
It's still allowed in the statute. So
Okay.
they do still allow that
Right.
specifically. It just has to be the physical characteristics.
Okay.
You can't say, I don't think this fits the neighborhood.
Right,
Kind of
right,
thing.
okay. Okay.
so I will ask that, I have to talk to the town attorney anyway, so I'll ask the question.
And I guess, you know, we've already noticed all this, so I think that's an excellent thing for us to talk to the town attorney and figure out, but we theoretically, if we choose to pursue it, could do it as a separate exercise as well, if we feel that what we have in front of us now is,
Yeah, because we also haven't noticed that, right? So we opened
Correct,
this one up and we
correct.
didn't notice that change.
Yes.
So, yeah.
so would someone like to make a motion to keep open and continue this public hearing?
Make a motion to maintain the hearing is open and continue the discussion.
And that will be to our next meeting on what date?
August 19th.
Okay,
I'll second that.
second by Peter. All in favor, please say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, so you all set on that one, Dave? Thank you, and thanks for your work. Is there any other business?
No.
And there's no one in the public for public comment? There's no correspondence, any staff reports?
Just that I have finalized the land use map, which was one of the sort of the last remaining plan of conservation development inclusions, so that will be assembled into a draft, and I'd like to have that in the packets for you. Or it's too big, I'm not going to print copies for everyone. If someone needs a copy, let me know, but it's a draft, it's going to get revised anyway, but I would like to distribute that at least to the commission as a draft document, so you can start to see that.
Okay. And it looks like we have 2 public hearing special permits on the next.
The 9.2, what are they looking to change it to? Change of use, you know?
For this one. 732 Celestine Highway.
Yeah, the 9.2, next public hearing, 221625Z, says they're looking for a change of use at 732. Do you know what they want?
Oh, is this, yes, 732 is the former consignment shop, correct?
Right.
They want an event space banquet hall.
Okay.
They currently have a business where they go to themed parties, birthday parties, and they bring, they do makeup and balloons, and they want to have a venue where they can have that same function. Interestingly, so, 207 Church, as a reminder, the Assembly Banquet Hall was a similar use that was not permitted. The commission had to determine it was similar. In this case, an Assembly Place Banquet Hall is permitted in this zone by special permit.
All right.
Anything else, Peter? I mean, Dave?
Thank you for letting me know.
Not going to be here.
You're not going to be here then?
No, I'll be
Tracy,
here.
no, Tracy's not going to be here.
Okay. Anybody other than Tracy know that for sure that you're not going to be at the next meeting? No? Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Chris. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thanks, everybody.
I don't think I've ever been in a meeting with someone.
Very interesting.